Hey guys, it's Core Ross, and today we've got a theory about Rainbow Six Siege, and this one is all to do with Blackbeard, and I think the developers plan to kill him with his remaster later this year. So first of all, this doesn't come from nothing. This actually comes from originally the 6 Major in Paris that I went to many years ago. This was pre-COVID and everything. So back then, I had a discussion, and Bikini Body was there as well with one of the developers. And at this point, they were discussing reworking Chanka. And at this point, he had not been reworked yet. And one of the ideas they were kind of playing around with was the idea of killing off Chanka and replacing him with someone else, so that when this guy got a brand new gadget, he would be a new operator. Now, of course, you'd still be able to use your old cosmetics and just make the guy look like Chanka if you wanted to, if they went ahead with it. But they were planning to potentially kill him off, or at least that was one of the major options. And of course, as we know now, they didn't do that. They decided just to rework him and keep the kind of basics of him still alive with his LMG and all that. But he could have been a completely different operator. And that brings us to a theory I have about Blackbeard. So I think this year is an evil year for Rainbow Six Siege. I've got another theory video out on what I think is going to happen with the recruits, and they're actually going to be bad guys, and that the Greek operator as well is going to end up being a bad guy too. Potentially the main bad guy. But anyway, I was planning to make this video, but when the Battle Pass came out for the Deadly Omen season, it had a rather interesting quote, an ominous quote as well, from Blackbeard himself, that really, to me, seems to back up this idea that Blackbeard might actually die with his remaster. And it's on this item, the Senior Combatant. And it just is Blackbeard saying, lost a lot of people this job. Someday it might be me. I can't get too comfortable. And of course, someday it might be me is like a little bit on the nose. I'm a bit worried about Blackbeard right now. And the first thing I'd like to say is just imagine that this year, of course, it has a remaster of Blackbeard at the end of the year. Or at least we think it's Blackbeard. They seem to hint that it definitely is. But let's just imagine that this year ends with Blackbeard dying, and he's replaced with a new operator and a new gadget that is entirely different from his old one. Could you just imagine what would happen when the year 10 roadmap gets revealed and it has 2 remasters of old operators, and they're being like really coy about which ones it is and hinting towards it? And we know that a remaster might mean death for the operators that are getting them. It would actually add some really interesting mechanics to a live service game where usually everyone just lives forever for as long as that game is going. And we could actually see operators dying. And imagine the next cinematic is Blackbeard being taken out by Demus, because right now Demus is being captured and he said, oh, I'm going to kill off Team Rainbow one at a time. And of course, doesn't look like that from where we're sitting right now. But could imagine if they actually start killing off Team Rainbow one after the other, then it'll be a bit more interesting of a story, I think.
One by one, every operator dies. That's the promise Deimos made when he made his devastating first appearance last year, and it's a promise he intends to keep.
Now, like I say, with the Chanka rework, if they were going to have killed him off, they would have let you just reuse the Chanka cosmetics on the new guy that came in, so you could just basically make the new guy look like Chanka. So I expect exactly the same thing here. If they kill off Blackbeard, you would just be able to reuse everything. He'd also most likely have exactly the same loadout and weapons, and of course weapon skins that you have for those loadouts. But the replacement could have a new operator icon, a new name, a new bio, and just a whole new backstory. And again, they could show this off in a cinematic to really bring in this new character. So I think there's a really, really good chance that they're going to try and crank up the drama this year by having the operators and the recruits be bad guys, and then killing off Blackbeard, replacing him. They could even replace him with a bad guy, but I think we're going to see some really interesting stuff potentially happen this year. And I did get a theory right that Demus was going to be a playable character, so I'm kind of hoping I'm on to something here. And I do think the quote in the Battle Pass is a very heavy hint, with him saying, lost a lot of people this job, someday it might be me. I can't get too comfortable. And I think if they kill him off, it's just the first of many. I think Demus is going to stick around for many years, and Demus has said he's going to kill off Rainbow one at a time. So you could imagine that every single year we could end up with a couple of operators quite literally being killed off and replaced. Now, do you think they'll do it? Do you think they'll have the balls to do it? And do you think they can pull it off? I would be amazed if they're able to do it, because right now, every cinematic and stuff we see, our operators get shot, they go into comas, they get what appears to be eliminated, but then they just get straight back up, like they have absolutely perfect plot armor, and that plot armor is even better than Rook's armor. So I would be, thinking that right now the story seems a bit weak, because of course no one can actually die in Team Rainbow. So if they actually start killing operators off, then suddenly it goes up and becomes, I think, a much more interesting story. And having DMS around for the next 5 years, killing off operators, maybe 1 or 2 per year, would be just fun to see. And it would be sad, but still, I kind of like the idea. There is also potentially a big benefit here, and that is weirdly for new players. Because right now, jumping into Siege, you have all these maps to learn, you have all these operators to learn, and it's extremely hard. And of course, they say, hey, we're going to get to 100 operators one day. But it's getting to the point of maybe that's actually too many operators, or at least maybe we should try not get there too quickly. And if a way around that is to kill operators off, replace them with new operators that ultimately would be better. Like Blackbeard right now is probably not the most liked operator or the most liked to be played operator, because he's seen as being very, very weak, but he's also seen as being very, very frustrating. So replacing them with something better could be good. And there's plenty more operators in exactly the same position on attack and defense that could end up getting replaced with something completely different. So will this end up being a new character in Season 4? Which, if you look at the roadmap, it is weirdly empty of content. And that makes me very suspicious that they might well be up to something there. Anyway, guys, I'd love to know what you think about this in the comments below. Are we going to see Blackbeard die this year and be fully replaced? Or do you think I'm absolutely, totally and utterly wrong, and this remaster of Blackbeard will just be him coming back with a whole new gadget and something completely different? But ultimately, I would love something to shake up Year 9 that then pushes us into Year 10 with the idea that things are different, the rules are different, and things can happen that normally wouldn't happen in Rainbow Six Siege going on into Year 10, and just higher stakes and more interesting stakes, and just the idea that maybe your favorite character ends up getting killed off next year, and that could end up being shown off in a cinematic like the one we've seen with Harry, because Harry, that was an amazing cinematic to watch because that was so unexpected. So you can imagine if we get a cinematic where Blackbeard gets taken out and then we see this new operator take his place in that cinematic, gives us some backstory, we get to see Blackbeard go down fighting and stuff like that. This could all end up being really cool. But whether they do it, I don't know. But this is my theory right now. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time.